Well, thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm Joe Vigil. Over the past few months, I have heard stories of survival, triumph, and tragedy. Honor Flight Southern Nevada takes these veterans to Washington, D.C. to honor their fellow fallen heroes, and Fox 5 was lucky enough to go with them.
Dear fellow American, I wanted to thank you for your service to our country. I'm actually really interested about what is his life like and why did he decide to fight for our country. Maybe one day I would get to know who they were.
We're now ready to go to Washington, D.C.
My stage of life, everything's an adventure.
Okay, here come our heroes!
Kind of choked me up a little bit.
I just got goosebumps.
Never dreamed I would be here, but I am.
It was nothing like what I could have imagined.
Thank you so much.
This is a Fox 5 News special. Fox 5 Honor Flight Southern Nevada, sponsored by America First Credit Union and Southern Nevada Toyota dealers.
Over the next hour, I will take you on the journey. First, though, we have to start from the beginning. In March, Fox 5 met Michael Bush, a Vietnam veteran who had gone on the trip, and tells us his story. Take a look.
59,000 kids lost their lives in Vietnam.
Well, Michael Bush of Henderson was just a kid himself in 1963 while in helicopter flight school in Texas.
All of us had our orders changed to Vietnam while we were going through flight school. So we all ended up going to Vietnam immediately.
As a chopper pilot, Bush flew about 40 missions in Vietnam. One mission near Da Nang didn't go as planned.
We tried to pick up dead and wounded. Instead, we ended up the dead and wounded. On our final approach over the South China Sea, we took several hits and crashed. And they don't know if we blew up when we hit the water.
The crew of 4 now struggled for survival in the sea.
When I was in the water, when I was pleading with God to save me, I thought, I don't want my children to grow up without having me as their father. And that was added incentive for me to try to stay alive.
Bush told the second pilot, Captain Allred, he was okay.
He said, I think I broke my leg. Well, it turned out that his left leg was broken in half. The left side of his chest was crushed. The ribs had pierced his lungs. So he was going to die.
Bush tried, but he couldn't help the others. After being washed ashore, he improvised a plan to hide from the Viet Cong, which he knew would be scouring the beach soon looking for the crew that crashed.
I knew I had to hide out, so I just dug a shallow grave and buried myself.
With only his face showing on that dark beach.
And sure enough, in the middle of the night, they walked right by me on the beach. I saw them and I held my breath and I said, please, God. And they walked right by me, didn't see me.
Bush survived the night. The next day brought a thunderous roar of many choppers looking for the downed crew. Bush was saved, but the 3 others died.
It was a horrible night, but that's the price we pay for protecting our country. When we came back from Vietnam, we were not happily accepted. So it was something that we all lived with. This erased all that. This was magnificent. It shows you how truly grateful people are when you do something like that. And you think, my God, it was worth it.
Well, for many, traveling to our nation's capital can be difficult, but as a group, they find the strength. I first met several of the veterans making the trip in Henderson at an honor flight breakfast. While veterans received a hearty meal at the Eagles Hall in Henderson recently, one table sat empty to remember those missing in action or prisoner of war in all conflicts.
There are 1,579 still missing from the Vietnam War, 6 from Nevada.
A rose to remind us of American families and those who keep the faith while seeking answers.
A pinch of salt symbolizes the tears of our missing and their families. The lighted candle reflects our hope for their return, alive or dead, The glass is inverted to symbolize their inability to share a toast.
And then a toast to the missing and for the safety of all serving the nation now.
Remember,
Vietnam veteran Michael Morgan will visit the Vietnam Veterans Wall as well.
Miss them. That's the biggest thing. They did get a chance to grow up in this world.
Along with some tears on this day,
Henderson loves its veterans.
also lots of support to let all veterans know they are appreciated.
While it may not be on every TV channel in the world about their service and their sacrifices, the basic American public loves them and supports what they've done for our country.
So as you saw there were some tears. The emotions for some of these military members are held deep within. Coming up, I sit down with World War II veteran, 98-year-old Daniel Chavez. He tells us his story of how he helped train troops for battle and remembers his war buddies. So we are fortunate to have many of the Honor Flight veterans who took this incredible trip to Washington, D.C. in our studio today. We thank them for coming here, and we will tell their stories of touring their war memorials. Welcome back, everyone. 98-year-old Daniel Chavez is a World War II veteran who lives in Henderson. He sat down with me to tell his story and why the trip to visit war memorials in Washington, D.C. is so important to him. The Chavez boys were all fighters: Bob, Ben, Dave, and Daniel. Daniel, who lives in Henderson, says when the Japanese hit Pearl Harbor in 1941, he and his high school classmates knew war was their future.
We got inflamed, and stuff, and wanted to do our duty.
World War II for him was about 5,000 miles away from the battlefields in Europe. He spent most of the war at Fort Sill in Lawton, Oklahoma, training troops how to fire artillery.
That shell weighed 100 pounds, and you were shooting at 5 miles distance.
He was part of the 664th Field Artillery Battalion.
We were good. We were one of the best. We could just saturate an area, just level it.
They were so good they got to test new weapons such as this beast. Chavez is in the middle. The gun was so powerful, the crew had to trigger it from 50 feet away.
We got hit with a concussion when it went off, and our clothes just flap against your skin, and you're bleeding through your pores, and your ears, you were digging in the dirt, you're screaming because it hurt so bad. And like an invisible hand picks you up and just throws you down.
And here's another photo of some of the Howitzer Squad in 1944 in Oklahoma. Daniel is at the bottom in the middle. Chavez's unit spent about 90 days training troops who would then head to the front lines of some historic World War II battles.
I'm really familiar with the troops that in the Battle of the Bulge because my outfit was there. And they pulled me out at the last minute before they went overseas. So I had so many friends in there. And they lost, in the first 6 days, they lost 4,200 kids. And most of them weren't even 19 years old when the Germans broke through.
And while war was tough there, it was dangerous and sometimes deadly back at Fort Sill.
A shell exploded prematurely. And all these guys were under there. Well, there was 4 of them that got killed right away.
Chavez also trained troops not to panic and run when they faced incoming fire.
Made them dig deep foxholes, then we started shelling the area around there.
Chavez, a lifelong swimmer and senior Olympics champion, even taught soldiers how to swim.
Otherwise, there's so much panic when the ship got sunk that would get people drowned because they didn't just panic.
Well, sadly, time is now the biggest enemy of World War II veterans.
This is the outfit of A Battery.
Chavez believes he is the last surviving soldier of his 107-member group.
You just never forget some of those guys and the things you did together, the fun times and the good times, the bad times.
Again, Chavez is now traveling to Washington to tour war memorials in April. He sees the upcoming honor flight as an opportunity to honor all of his war buddies.
so few of us left now. It's sort of a tribute to a lot of these guys that I knew that have gone. And so many were so young, you know. Yeah, I thought, here I've gotten 80 years, good years afterwards, and they never got to have that, you know. They never got, so that's mainly what I'm thinking of.
And he will get to pay tribute to his fallen military buddies. He will be one of the nearly 24 veterans on their way to Washington, D.C. And coming up, this was no ordinary flight. The special moments that happened before we even took off, and a message from the flight crew to these veterans. We also introduce you to Vietnam veteran Michael Morgan, who says his visit to the Vietnam Memorial will be memorable as he remembers his fallen friends. So just a short time ago, we took you to the pancake breakfast, and while there I met Michael Morgan, a Vietnam veteran who's really looking forward to paying respects by visiting the war memorials. Honor Flight Southern Nevada will make many stops in the Washington, D.C. area, including the Vietnam Veterans Memorial.
I look forward to seeing the wall. I've seen the mobile walls, but I've never seen the actual wall itself.
But reliving the war may not be easy for him, especially with so many names on the wall. More than 58,000.
A lot of friends.
I have the deepest love and respect for the military.
Angela Little with the Las Vegas Raiders is also going on the honor flight as part of the team's commitment to veterans. Each veteran will go with a guardian like Little, who will help them navigate their way around D.C.
I'm looking forward to that. That's the deepest honor that a person can have, is to give back what they've given 10 times over.
She and her father both served their country in the military and is honored to be asked to go.
It's pride, it's honor, it's respect. These people put on uniforms every day to fight for our country.
So just a couple weeks later, it was time to gather at Harry Reid International Airport for a 6 a.m. flight. A little bit early, but believe me, these vets were ready to go, along with a flight crew that was honored to have them on board.
I myself am a veteran. I did 2 tours in Afghanistan, so for my heart, what it's like to be a veteran, and thank you for your service. Flight today, 3 hours, 49 minutes over there. I do want to let you know, however, our captain is a civilian, so if there's any rough landings, it's a real treat for us to be able to fly you all and to fly this airplane today on this honor flight. Welcome aboard. Thanks for flying with us.
From Fox 5, myself, including our photographer, Barclay Fernandez, who is a combat veteran himself, and our promotions team took off for the journey. Now, you can see here the vets resting up for what many vets have described as a trip of a lifetime. And it was the landing in Baltimore they did not expect.
Please can we give all of our vets a big round of applause?
A bunch of people they didn't even know showed their appreciation at the Southwest Airlines gate for Honor Flight Southern Nevada veterans. During colors, one TSA agent showed his respect with a salute he held until all World War II Korean and Vietnam veterans were on the plane. They made the trip to the East Coast on Freedom One, which received a water salute when they rolled into Baltimore. The veterans didn't know what they were about to see as they got off the plane and moved toward the gate, but heard it with Vietnam vet Michael Morgan leading the way.
Thank you.
Welcome, great to see you. WW2 again!
This one just warmed your heart and made you feel like you're really home again.
Many years of waiting, but it felt good.
It was beautiful. Yeah. I didn't expect that, but it was beautiful.
This just an hour or so into a journey that would lead many of these men and women back to war. So Michael, I remember when I met you, I think it was the pancake breakfast, and we talked, and you know, it was kind of a hard time to even talk then. And I kind of kept my eye on you during this trip because I knew that it wasn't very easy for you. I don't know if you knew that. You probably don't want to have some kid looking out after you, but I kept my eye on you. This was not an easy trip for you. Can you explain that a little bit?
Like I say, pulling into Baltimore was really a welcome home.
Yeah.
When I came into San Francisco, they already told me to get out of my uniform before I got off the airplane. I mean, you can wear your pants, just get rid of your blouse. Because you're going to find the hate kids there, which was true. But it was the other way around. In Baltimore, it was like, my God, I'm home. And my wife of 53 years has done her damnedest to make me at home. And I'm getting upset. I don't like it, but it's there.
After touching down in Baltimore, the appreciation continued. Next, we visit the World War II Memorial, where they were greeted with special ceremonies and emotions. They say they were proud to serve. The first stop on our tour through the nation's capital was the World War II Memorial. 16 million members of the Armed Forces of the United States of America are honored here. 405,000 Americans made the ultimate sacrifice. Construction began on the memorial in September of 2001 and opened to the public on April 29, 2004. For many of these veterans, it gave them a chance to reflect on the past. The welcomes were underway before veterans even got inside the World War II Memorial. Also, outside the memorial, students lined up with roses as Thomas Pearson made his way by. He flew sea rescue training missions in World War II, flew readiness missions during the Korean War, made bombing runs during the Vietnam War, and flew many alert missions during the Cold War.
We could sometimes carry 4 atomic bombs.
Thank you for your service. Welcome home.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you for your service and welcome to your memorial.
Told by a greeter the world would be completely different without him. Not far behind Pearson was the second World War II veteran with Honor Flight Southern Nevada, Daniel Chavez. He trained troops to fire artillery during World War II while at Fort Sill in Lawton, Oklahoma.
Can't believe it. It's just so overwhelming, really. You know, seeing these many people and so much applaud. Little old me. And it makes me feel good.
After numerous thank yous, both veterans finally made it inside with more shows of respect. Students surrounded Pearson, which brought a huge smile to his face.
I was actually very happy when I heard about having the opportunity to write this. I wanted to thank you for your service to our country.
14-year-old Kellen Fishpaw from the Dallas area expressed her thoughts on paper to Vietnam veteran Donald Kapla by reading a letter to him.
I need people who serve for us to know that they fought for our freedom, and my thankfulness and gratefulness and gratitude towards what they did for our country.
I had reservations about coming here, but then now these people, made me believe it was all worthwhile.
Thomas, you got a handful of roses and lots of new friends and handshakes. What do you think?
I'm honored that they think so much of us.
And Thomas Pearson then telling us something you might expect from someone who never expected anything in return for their service.
It's our pleasure to serve.
And while this memorial celebrates victory, it also honors the fallen. Each star represents 100 deceased service members, more than 4,000 stars in all, representing more than 400,000 Americans who gave their lives in service during World War II.
It brings tears to my eyes a lot of time, reminiscing.
But Nevada veterans leave the memorial with a sense of pride and accomplishment of keeping the United States free. So Carl, I guess kind of the same question. I mean, there was a lot, you know, it's a kind of a whirlwind trip. We saw a lot in a short amount of time. For you, what was the most memorable moment, if there's one moment?
one moment, actually from start to finish, it was just fantastic. But the one moment that I thought was great was getting off the bus at the World War II Memorial and all of the people on the sidewalk, especially the 8th grade classes. They had several, I don't know if it's several or one class, all the girls had a rose for us. And after the honor guard finished, they came up to us, gave us a rose and a letter of thanks. Those girls were so sweet. And I thought, to me, that's a great opportunity for young kids to know kind of what we've done in the past.
We then traveled to the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. It stands for a symbol for the lives lost. We introduced you briefly earlier to Rock Dickerson, a Vietnam veteran. I was there with him as he reflected on a fallen friend. Honor Flight Southern Nevada veterans showed their respect to more than 58,000 people listed on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Wall.
Wow, there's a lot of names on that wall.
Hello. Tragic, but I'm honored to visit and pay my respects to these individuals that gave up their life for us.
I had held out of going to the wall for all these years. I just had a fear I guess I didn't want to face. And today I came here and I faced that fear.
Rock Dickerson remembers a firefight.
A firefight lasts forever and is over in seconds.
During the Vietnam War, this small patrol group Dickerson was part of came under attack in the Ah Sha Valley, and he lost a friend, Maxwell S. Franz, or Franzi as Dickerson called him.
We were good friends, as good of friends as you can be in a combat zone. I tried not to make friends with very many people over there because we didn't last long. We had an RPG rocket that they fired at us, and he was the unlucky one that actually got blown up.
Rock Dickerson said if he ever found the courage to visit the wall, he would find his friend among all the names and say a goodbye prayer for him.
We knew immediately he was gone, and we had to evade on out. The bus is in the same location where we parked. Leave him there, and now I've seen him here, so he knows I didn't leave him behind.
And once Dickerson touched Franzi's name at the wall, his life seemed different.
The visit to the wall calms a lot of devils down, and I'm thankful I got to make this trip. It's changed stuff.
And while war can still be tough for veterans today, Rock Dickerson discovered decades after combat, it's still possible to find some inner peace with a final farewell to a friend. So George, you know, I saw you, you're a pretty happy guy. You're running around, you're waving, you're quite active during this whole trip. For you, what do you think was the most memorable moment for you, or the best moment?
I guess when I saw the memorials, it was very impressive. The Korean Memorial and the Vietnam Memorial. Those two were very, very impressive to me. I even seen that cemetery looking up at the Arlington, and it just brought tears to my eyes. And I think every person in the United States, whether they're veterans, old, young, needs to go to Washington, D.C. to see what happened and why we can do the things we do.
Still ahead, we visit the Vietnam Women's Memorial and catch up with two women who made contributions during the Vietnam War, the memories they leave behind. We also visit the Korean War Memorial with an unexpected message for our local veterans who served. And we will also meet a guardian who has a connection to the Pentagon Memorial, honoring those who died on September 11th.
This is a Fox 5 News special. Fox 5 Honor Flight Southern Nevada, sponsored by America First Credit Union and Southern Nevada Toyota dealers.
Welcome back, everyone. Well, so far this hour, we have visited the World War II and Vietnam Memorial. Now we move a few yards over to the Vietnam Women's Memorial. It was dedicated on the National Mall in November of 1993 and honors more than 265,000 military and civilian women who served around the world during the Vietnam era. I met two local women who visited for the first time. A small token of honor by Honor Flight Southern Nevada veterans, just steps away from a memorial that recognizes the huge contributions of women in war.
Just very proud.
Vietnam veteran Judy Bootson is proud because the Vietnam Women's Memorial depicts nurses in a moment of crisis, serving as a life support for a wounded soldier.
I just love taking care of people.
Bootson took care of injured service members in Vietnam who were flown back to a hospital in Queens, New York. Many times, family wasn't nearby to be by their side.
And we became their family, and we invited people home with us to have holiday dinners and stuff like that. So it was a whole different experience of life.
The memorial honors Vietnam-era nurses and 265,000 women who served around the world during the Vietnam War.
Very rewarding because, you know, I think sometimes women have been forgotten in the wars.
The memorial also pays tribute to Vietnam Air Force medic Carmen Turner. We caught up with her at the Air Force Memorial.
I was basically stationed at Eglin Air Force Base in Florida, but we went back and forth to Vietnam to pick up mental patients. We were working in the mental unit. It was an experience that gave me some insight into why people have PTSD.
And what are your thoughts then? Any conclusions?
No, I don't think you ever get over it. Honestly, don't think you ever. There's treatment and there's treatment, but I don't think you ever really get over it.
What did you think about the Women's Vietnam Memorial?
You're going to make me cry. Okay, don't make me cry. I was just so touched by the whole thing. It was just very moving, and it was very realistic. I just loved it.
Emotional for her because the memorial brought back many memories, and not just the bad ones.
It just brought back very fond memories of the friendships I made and the friendships I've kept. The camaraderie, the thoughtfulness, to know that someone has your back, it's a wonderful, wonderful feeling.
And wonderful to know people like Turner and Bootson, so caring and helping people, leave Washington, D.C. knowing there are many who honor and care about them for their sacrifice and service during the Vietnam War.
And I'll probably go back home and cry for a couple of nights, and then hopefully I'll be able to tell my kids, what a wonderful time I had.
What do you want people to know about women in war, specifically women who served in the Vietnam era?
They're every bit as important as the men. And today you see young women who are in combat and carrying weapons and fighting for this country. And I love that saying that freedom isn't free. It's not. And it takes, every single person in the military has a job. And that job is important to everything working as well as it does. And women are very much a part of all of that, and they should be recognized.
So Jerry, you were kind of in a unique situation. You're with your wife on this trip. Can you explain what that was like?
It was great having her available, and seeing that she also was honored as one of the women that actually was in the Vietnam era and did her job. It was thrilling to have us both together at the same time.
Our next stop takes us to the Korean and Pentagon memorials. We meet Matthew Harville and John Ottery. It may be called the Forgotten War, but the Korean War Veterans Memorial was dedicated in 1995 to remember the sacrifices of those who fought and those who died. As Honor Flight Southern Nevada Korean War veterans presented a wreath, The president of the Korean War Veterans Memorial Foundation wanted to pass on a message for the mission in Korea.
Thank you for all that you did in the defense of South Korea all those decades ago. What you did for a country that you didn't know and people that you didn't know was you saved them, changed their history, and you made America better. It is as simple and as profound as that.
Another meaningful thank you for veterans during the trip, decades after fighting ended.
I can't explain it in words, but it means so much to me that the people think that much of us for what we did, and we thank God that He brought us through it and brought us back to where we can be here today. Words can't explain it, really. It's really awesome.
Later, the group toured the 9/11 Memorial, just outside where a plane hit the Pentagon. There are 184 memorial benches for the people killed on the plane and inside the building.
This is the first time I've gotten to see the memorial, and it's very moving. It really is. And it's, brings back memories.
John Ottery is an honor flight guardian, paired with a veteran during the trip. Ottery was working in D.C. on 9/11.
I was supposed to have a meeting here in the Pentagon on 9/11 in one of the conference rooms, a couple of wings away from where the plane went in.
But he didn't make it to that meeting.
The meeting had been canceled.
So he remained at the Washington Navy Yard not far from the Pentagon. But his two friends who were supposed to be at the meeting, again held inside the Pentagon but away from where the plane hit, ended up where the plane went in and died. Ottery found their benches, including Navy Lieutenant Commander Eric Cranford, a helicopter pilot who served 2 tours in the Persian Gulf. Ottery's other friend was Scott LaManna, just 31 years old. He helped monitor the Navy's global fleet and the Pentagon's Navy Command Center.
Good guy, young guy with a family.
Yeah.
Just kind of starting out.
Right.
And doing what the Navy asked him to do. Just another day on the job.
An emotional day for John Ottery and honor flight veterans who know freedom isn't free and are so proud of people who served and died. The Korean War Memorial. The speaker there thanked all the veterans, Korean War veterans, for their service, and basically said that, it was just to improve the lives of people from Korea. What did you think about that speech?
It was quite well, really, and quite emotional, as one veteran mentioned. It was kind of hard to get through it, but I thought he did a great job on his speech. There was an officer which I served in the 101st and at Hue Fubai. I was a food service officer there, and the brigade, the brigade XO went and took over one of the battalion, Lieutenant Colonel Lucas. And so shortly, with a vicious battle, he lost his life. And so I got a chance to copy his name from the wall. And so we had some very memorable times there.
And next up, this trip would not have been possible without our sponsors, America First Credit Union and Southern Nevada Toyota dealers. I sat down with a guardian who went to represent Toyota. Hear about why she says it was such an incredible experience.
America First is very honored to be able to support the honor flight of Southern Nevada, and it's just a blessing and an honor to be able to be a big part of this.
I work at Toyota, I'm a salesman there, and I'm a Marine Corps veteran, so they approached me with the opportunity.
When the Raiders asked me to be a part of this, I can't explain to you just how full my heart feels.
For the first time ever, the entire flight is being sponsored. That's phenomenal. To get that kind of community support.
Considered effective when I came home. You got out of your uniform before you had a chance to get home. Either that or you got spirit on, one or the other.
So this is honoring you the way you should have been honored.
Okay, here come our heroes.
Coming through the airport kind of choked me up a little bit.
Swelled me up with emotion, just seeing you guys get that recognition.
I knew it would be powerful for the veterans, but I didn't really understand how impactful that would be for me.
We felt a sense of peace, and Dan says, I finally have able to let this go.
It was
impossible to hold back the tears.
Thank you for the opportunity to be able to help.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Going on Honor Flight Southern Nevada, an experience of a lifetime for veterans, but also their guardians. Southern Nevada Toyota dealers help sponsor the flight, and we are lucky to have Andrea Howell join me now to talk about what it was like to be a guardian. Andrea, first of all, welcome.
Hi.
Good to see you again. We saw each other quite a bit on the trip.
Yeah.
So first off, tell us a little bit about the veteran that you were with on the trip.
Yeah, my veteran is Chuck Mooney.
Okay.
He is a Vietnam War veteran who served in the Navy. He worked in the engine room on the USS Theodore Chandler.
Mm-hmm.
He transferred missiles and drove trucks and was stationed in San Diego and Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And on a more personal note, he is a fun-loving family man with a great sense of humor who loves to give me a hard time whenever he can.
Well, he was a good guy. I talked to him a couple times on the trip. He was very entertaining and just a joy to talk to. So what stood out most, would you say, when you experienced this journey?
Quick disclaimer, it's hard for me to talk about this trip without getting a little emotional. So for those of you keeping track at home, the over-under on me getting teary is 3 times.
Okay, that's okay.
I think that the most meaningful part for Chuck was the warm, overwhelming greeting at the airports and the first stop, the World War II Memorial.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really easy for veterans to feel forgotten about. And this trip gave them the opportunity to experience, time number 1, the honor and gratitude that they deserve.
Yeah, don't worry about being emotional. I think many of us were emotional on that trip. It's hard not to be, and it's hard not to be right now, especially when you think about the service and all these veterans did for us. To see the smiles on the faces of the veterans, to see the tears, and them happy. But difficult too, because they had to relive war. But what you guys did and what everybody else did to sponsor this was really amazing. I know a lot of them is so memorable, and they're not going to forget this.
Absolutely.
What would you tell a future guardian thinking about going on the trip? And guardians, by the way, are the people who are with the veteran the whole time they're there.
You are assigned one veteran. I would say don't hesitate. Just do it. This trip is emotionally and physically demanding for the veterans. And by volunteering as a guardian, you empower them to get the most out of what for them is a once-in-a-lifetime trip. You know, I just talked to Chuck yesterday, and he is still, flying high on this trip, and just is so grateful for that opportunity. And by being a guardian, you make sure they get everything that they can out of that.
So we just talked about getting emotional. Coming up, the all-important mail call. Well, we have taken you on a journey through history, through the eyes of local veterans who were surprised at how much love and support they received. But the emotions are not over yet. It is time for Mail Call. Honor Flight Southern Nevada veterans say the trip was full of surprises. No one expected that waiting in line, of all things, in Baltimore to return home would turn into a memorable moment. Another veteran passing through the airport saw Nevada veterans and felt compelled to shake their hands and thank them for their service.
Miss Charlene Bootson, 72, Navy, 1970 to 1974, Vietnam.
And probably the biggest surprise happened more than 30,000 feet in the air somewhere over Colorado. During World War II and the Korean and Vietnam Wars, mail call was a big deal.
When many of these men and women served, one of the things they looked forward to was an opportunity to get mail from home.
The vets were again surprised by packages of letters from family and friends, and not just 1 or 2 letters and cards, but stacks of them.
This has to be my favorite from Mateo.
Alan Zach, Vietnam veteran and Coast Guard member, was touched by several letters from young students. David drew a picture of Zach on a boat.
When I grow up, I want to be in the Coast Guard.
But the unexpected show of support was a little overwhelming as the Honor Flight photographer consoled Vietnam veteran John Alley during mail call.
So are you okay?
No. What does it mean to you to get these letters?
know that many people cared.
You didn't know that many people cared?
Yeah.
A lot of people care.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. It's a fighter jet.
Kim Duclos read a letter to her dad, Vietnam veteran Michael Morgan, from his great-grandson and great-granddaughter and his granddaughter.
It says, "Happy birthday, I love you, Papa. Thank you, I never said thank you enough for not only being the best Papa, but for being my American hero."
Thank you, because you have not just been a father, you have been a constant source of love, support, and guidance. You have been and will always be my role model. With all my love, your son, Mike C. Mooney Sr. He never even mentioned none of this before. It's the first time. You know, I know he loved me and still cared about me, but he never said it in these words, man. I'm so grateful. I'm so thankful. I'm so blessed.
A final surprise for so many hearing words they haven't heard before. It was the end of a trip that was much more than something to write home about, but something to talk about.
I can't believe that many people honor me, old Donald Kaplan.
Laugh about, even shed tears about, for years of service to their country. Well, the love didn't stop there. Here's the welcome home they received when they landed back here in Las Vegas.
I thought our surprises was all over with. This is amazing. We've never had this before, and I can't believe all these people would come out here.
God, it's fantastic. I've never seen so many people in one place in all my life. They came out in drones, and they really, really appreciated us.
I can't even tell you. I never expected anything like this. I'm ready to cry again. But I'm just speechless. This is fabulous.
I have cried more in the last day than I have in the last year. It's very emotional. I've never come out here for one of these, and I think I should from now on.
At the airport in Baltimore, that was the first time I ever got off a plane and had a reception like that. And then this one doubles it.
It was something I never experienced. It was magical. I'd like to go again, but I want my other brothers to go and experience it. I never would have dreamed that these many people would have come to see us back. But it was awesome. I can't explain it in words, but it was awesome.
So while this is a journey I certainly will never forget, we also hope that you enjoyed the trip as well. Now, we can't thank our sponsors enough, America First Credit Union and Southern Nevada Toyota Dealers, and the Las Vegas Raiders for making this all possible. To learn more about Honor Flight Southern Nevada, you can visit them online. That's honorflightsouthernnevada.org. The next flight is in October. And here is an extra salute to all of the veterans who went on the trip. From all of us here at Fox 5, we salute you. Good night, everyone.